Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a hilarious book series about a kid named Greg Heffley. Greg struggles in middle school because half of the kids there are morons and weirdos. And then you have a bunch of giant gorillas who shave every day. And yes, that is totally what happened when I was in middle school. A bunch of the other boys were normal when school ended, but when they came back from summer vacation, they were all as tall and hairy as Bigfoot.
Argo Font Book Review. Argo Font Book Review.
Greg is only writing a diary because his mom is making him do it. He complains about middle school, and about his brothers, and about his best friend Rowley, who's kind of a loser. If you ever want to beat Rowley at video games, just make a fart joke, and he'll be too distracted to win. To be fair, most middle schoolers would be super distracted by fart jokes while playing video games. This book has a couple of shorter stories, like Greg runs for student body treasurer, Greg tries to make a giant snowman, and Greg tries to listen to his older brother's CD. All of these stories end with him failing in a funny way. My favorite of the short stories is when they have to make a robot for independent study class. The boys come up with a list of names that the robot shouldn't be able to say. The teacher sees they made a list of bad words, and all the students get in trouble. The first 50 pages of the book are okay, but I think the book really takes off when October starts. That's when we get a bunch of different stories all themed around Halloween. Greg and Rowley try to make the best haunted house ever, but it ends up being pretty bad, and they get in trouble when it scares some little kids. All of Greg's big trick-or-treating plans are ruined when he has to go with his little brother and his dad. Woo, they're so slow. When Greg and Rowley finally get to go out by themselves, it's too late to get much candy, and they get on the wrong side of some mean teenagers. The teenagers chase them away. In November, they start doing wrestling in school. Greg thinks it'll be fun and cool, like professional wrestling on TV. It's more like sweaty guys sitting on top of him for an hour every day. Why did Greg think he'd be successful at wrestling? He is a wimpy kid. Next is my favorite story of the book, where Greg gets a role in the school play, which is The Wizard of Oz. It's a complete disaster. None of the kids can remember their lines. One kid plays video games all the time. Toto the dog reads comic books all the time. And Greg has to sing a really embarrassing song about being a tree. Greg refuses to sing during the play because his brother's recording everything. The other trees decide if Greg's not gonna sing, they shouldn't have to sing either. And the entire thing ends with a big fight. The trees throw apples at everyone. The play has to be canceled when the lead actress's glasses are broken. I'm kind of sad that Patty Farrell doesn't really appear in the other books in this series. She could have been a great reoccurring character, Greg's arch nemesis. Christmas is also a disappointment when there's a mix-up with Greg's present. Greg accidentally breaks Rowley's arm. Rowley gets a lot of attention from all the girls at school, and Greg is jealous. He tries faking his own injury to get attention, but it doesn't work. Things finally seem to go right for Greg when he signs up for safety patrol. That means he gets bully protection, free hot chocolate, and he gets to miss math class. Nice. Of course, he has to deal with stinky kindergartners. Not nice. The school newspaper needs a cartoonist. Greg decides to try out. That would be the perfect job for him. This is a book in cartoons. He's great at drawing funny pictures. He tries drawing cartoons with Rowley, but Rowley's only idea is to have a character shout, "Zooey Mama!" It quickly gets boring when every comic strip has the same punchline. I don't know, the Garfield comic strip has used the same Garfield loves eating food joke for over 40 years now, and it seems to be doing okay. Greg's comic makes the newspaper, but the teachers rewrite it without telling him. Now it's all about math and learning, without any joke. The other kids hate it. In safety patrol, Greg scares the little kids with a worm. Greg is wearing Rowley's jacket that day, so the school thinks Rowley was the one who misbehaved. Rowley gets in big trouble. Mom encourages Greg to do the right thing and tell the truth, but Greg decides he doesn't want to lose getting free hot chocolate every morning. He'd rather let Rowley get punished for something he didn't do. Wow, Greg, you're a terrible best friend. When the truth comes out, Rowley starts avoiding Greg. Greg tries to make Rowley jealous by hanging out with a weird kid named Heffley. That plan totally backfires when Heffley gets on a sugar high and chases Greg with a booger for hours. Greg tries to get himself picked as the class clown for the school yearbook. His plan is to prank a substitute teacher, but that backfires when the substitute is his mom. Greg's chances of being class clown are completely destroyed when Rowley's Zooey Mama comics are a big hit with everyone. Rowley becomes one of the most popular kids in school. Greg and Rowley get into an argument, which builds up into a fight. They're interrupted by the high schoolers from Halloween. High schoolers? That was over 6 months ago. Why are you still mad at Greg and Rowley? And why did it take you so long to find them? The teenagers force Rowley to eat a disgusting piece of cheese, which has been stuck to the blacktop for years. When it looks like Rowley will become an outcast forever, Greg steps in and protects Rowley's reputation. Greg takes all the blame for the cheese. The other kids avoid Greg for the rest of the year because he's got the cheese touch. Rowley is impressed by Greg's sacrifice, and he decides to become Greg's friend again. The end. Post-book follow-up. Part of the reason I'm reviewing this book is because I saw other YouTubers bad-mouthing this series for being unrealistic. No. I have a kid in middle school. I can confirm it's realistic. Middle schoolers act like this. They can be really mean without knowing it, and they can make absolutely terrible decisions. A kid at school ate something disgusting seems to be a pretty common event at middle schools. In fact, I'd be surprised if the author wasn't a middle school teacher at some point. One complaint people have about this series is that a lot of the time, Greg is a jerk. He bullies his friend Rowley a lot. Many of Greg's problems are completely of his own making. He's just not self-aware enough to realize it. Those are valid complaints. Since Greg is the main character, if you don't like him, then you probably won't like this book. The Disney Plus movie goes out of its way to make Greg a much nicer, more sympathetic character who's legitimately friends with Rowley. Part of me likes that version of Greg more, but it's not as funny as the live-action movie where Greg was meaner. Overall, I think this is a great book. It's realistic and hilarious. The pictures are good. I suppose the story could be improved a bit, but it's still plenty good. I could definitely understand why this book became a huge success. I would recommend the Wimpy Kid books to practically everyone, starting with this book. I give Diary of a Wimpy Kid a 10 out of 10.